Alright, welcome back. Hope everyone's having a lovely day, still enjoying the 1.5 anniversary, enjoying what's left. And I want to say thank you. I wasn't sure how well that solo raid video was going to go, and I see a lot of people like actually enjoying it. Got some info. I know it's not perfect, and there was additional info in the comments, so thank you very much. I appreciate that. I try my best. I know it's not perfect, but at least maybe it helps somebody. And if you got any help from that, then that's awesome. That's all I could ask for, honestly. But before we talk about what's happening today, let's see if we could get lucky today, right? Let's see. Come on, that free once a day. I think we could do it. I think we can get a gold today. I'm feeling it. Lucky Sunday. I think so. Come on. Let me see that. Let me see that gold spark. Let me see that crown. Oh, I don't know about this one, guys. It's nothing. It's nothing. Just give me nothing instead. Well, that backfired. Anyway, as to for what today's video is, I wanted to talk about team building, especially as like a quick guide, especially if you're new and you're still unsure how you should build your teams out, and you just know that, okay, well, I should go for crown because that's the Rada banner, but how else do I build my team with what I have? So I really wanted to talk about it. And there are a few important things that I'm going to discuss in terms of squads. So when it comes to squads, there is a certain way of having your teams, and that's based on the position they're in. So, for instance, with this team, this is my main PvE team, which is considered the meta team since Crown came out. And I'm not here to talk about the units, I'm talking about the burst power and their burst numbers, because that's really important to talk about. Because in order to use any squad, you need to have a burst 1, a burst 2, and a burst 3. That's really important because if you don't have a burst 1, then you can't burst at all. If you don't have a burst 2, you can only do a burst 1. And if you don't have a burst 3, you can only do a burst 1 and a burst 2. And burst 3s are where most of your DPS can come from. So that's really important to talk about. Because I remember at the start, some people were trying to flex like characters, like, oh, I have so many pilgrims and stuff. But they didn't have the 1, 2, 3 bursts, so they just got roasted. And I don't want you to become a part of that. So make sure that you look at the number. So the way that the symbols are, the first one is going to be the element that they are, then what type of weapon they have, and then their burst number. And that's really important to know about. So like for instance, Modernia's fire, and then machine gun, and then burst 3, and Naga's electric, shotgun, and burst 2. And there's a few ways you can do a squad. You could do a 1-1-3, a 1-2-2, or a 2-1-2. There's probably other ways, but that's the main. And what's a 2-1-2? For instance, this team I have right now is technically a 2-1-2 if we don't consider Red Hood's burst 1. Because technically Red Hood can do burst 1, burst 2, burst 3, but I use her as a burst 3. So, for instance, Crown is in position 1 right here. Litter's in position 2. And then I have Red Hood in position 3. I'm sorry, no. Let me swap that. There we go. So Red Hood's in position 3 now. She's my main DPS who bursts first. And then Modernia is position 4. Position 5 is Naga. Now, the way I have this, it doesn't matter. It does matter in the sense that if you want to know who's going to burst first, you have to do it from left to right. So, if you want your burst 1, if you want Litter to burst and not Red Hood, make sure that she comes before Red Hood. Like, if Red Hood's in this position, she'll burst instead of Litter, and we don't want that. So, make sure that you know your order of who you want to burst, especially for your burst 3s to maximize damage. And in terms of who to have on your team, my team has 2 burst 2s, 2 burst 3s, and 1 burst 1. So I have a 1-2-2 team. Now there are a few others you can do. For instance, You can have, if you have the schoolgirls, Tia, the way her burst 1 works is that you need an extra burst 1 after she bursts. So with this, it's a 2-1-2. So I have 2 burst 1s, 1 burst 2, which is Naga, and I have 2 burst 3s, which is Black Shadow Scarlet and Red Hood. So that's another way you can set up your teams. And in terms of another setup you can do, you can have a 1-1-3. Now, this was really popular, especially when the bunnies were, like, at peak. And they still are peak. But now that we have Crown to use for other types of teams, they're a little bit laid back. But still, duo, schoolgirls, and bunnies are still cream of the crop when it comes to meta as well. And now the way that this worked was that I used Litter, I used Blanc, and then I used Red Hood, and then I used Modernia, and then I used Noir, because you need both of them for them to work. Same kind of like the schoolgirls. Technically, you don't need Naga or Noir to be with their counterpart, but to me, it makes sense as a duo unit for them to be together. With that out the way, what are some teams if you're new? Well, let's say that you don't really have a good SR setup. You don't have that many pilgrims. You didn't feel like pulling on this 1%. You didn't feel like rerolling. What's a good SR team that you can get after pulling and stuff? So, from what I remember, N102 was probably one of the best burst ones for the SR, and also in general having an SR. I remember when I still had some SSRs, I used N102 because she actually did a good bit for the team. And Anise, I remember Anise, she's still just a really good burst 2 in terms of an SR. And Rappy's just overall still, like, arguably better than Rosanna, arguably better than 8 in terms of some damage stuff, because some of their kits are too niche or they're not made for PvE. So, Rappy's still good. And just as an extra support, honestly, you just have Neon here and Mihara. And there is technically another character you can replace with Mihara. However, if you're new, you won't be able to obtain them, unfortunately, because there are characters like Neve who came out, but they only came out during the winter events to get them, so you can no longer get them. But in terms of an SR team, this is probably what you'll be working with for a little bit if you don't have any SSRs. Now, once you get SSRs, you'll probably have a team that, I know Privity you get for free, so you'd probably end up having Privity a part of your team as well, and still rocking with this. But hoping that you actually did get Crown, your team would look a little bit similar and have a vibe that would utilize Crown, and you wouldn't need Anise anymore. So you'd have Crown here. And best bet is probably having the teams like this, and then having your burst 1 Neon just back over here, so you don't have to worry that much. So that's honestly what I wanted to do in terms, because you would have this team as a good setup. So if you pulled for Crown and you managed to get the free Privity that you get throughout the game, and you're just utilizing the other SRs that you get from the game without worrying about past events, you would not really have to worry, because you would just end up utilizing your normal teammates, which is fine. You know, you don't have to have this. Maybe you have more than this. I'm just trying to be flexible, because I remember I still used Neon, I still used Rappy, I still used N102. I used N102 the longest. And unfortunately, the SRs won't get you past the 160 wall. You really do need 3 copies, 3 star characters, to try to get past that 160 wall. That's why I think it's really important that you really focus on getting all the copies of Kilo, so you don't have to worry about that. But then also, outside of that, really worry when it comes to team building. You want to worry about the elements. And a good way of showing that is, let's go to Campaign, for instance. Because with Campaign, I can show you an example of how it can benefit or not benefit a team with team building. So for instance, this team's weak point is water. And unfortunately, I'm still struggling here to push. So if my main team fails, maybe I want to try to do a team with Privity. So you really want to try to use as many advantages as you can, because If you're also under the recommended power, that means you're already getting a squad penalty for your team power. So you might as well try to focus on the weak points. Or if you're confident enough that your team can just DPS check it and push through even past your recommended power, then go for it. But that's also what I wanted to keep in mind. Similar to Solar Raid, is just to watch the elements, because as the screen shows, this is how the elements work, from water to fire to wind to iron to electric for the bonus damages. So that's really something you need to keep in mind also with your teams. But also, I never really worry about that in terms of PvE, but just wanted to give it a thought. And when it comes to setting up your teams, you also need to worry about how to level them up, because you want to level them up evenly. Because I remember I screwed up and I over leveled teammates, and I did not have some teammates leveled up, and that's really important with the synchro device. I think the synchro device is going to be your biggest help, and then you're going to get stuck at the 160 wall. I got lucky because I didn't get a lot of characters, but I got a lot of duplicates of characters, and that was really the main point. So outside of all of that, I guess that's all I wanted to do, because there's not a lot to talk about in terms of team building, especially when you're starting out. But that's why I wanted to give some examples with the SR units, because I feel like that's really important. And just a quick small little guide. I didn't want to do something too extra, but I honestly hope it was helpful, because I know some people are still struggling with teams, still trying to figure out how to set up their teams with Crown, or how to push the campaign even further, or trying to figure out Solar Raid stuff. And I just wanted to do a quick guide, especially for returning or new players, on how that's going. And I hope this helps you at all. I hope you managed to find a team that can work out better because of this. And once again, I just want to say thank you for all the support you've been giving me. We're already at like 130 subs, and that's crazy to me. Seeing this community grow more, seeing a lot more people talk in the comments is really awesome. Seeing people help each other in the comments is really sweet too. So thank you guys for somehow growing a community here. It's really sweet to see. So thank you once again for all the support. You guys have a lovely night, a lovely day, wherever you're from. Take care, and goodbye.